So the new Godzilla comic book series is finally out. We got Godzilla issue 1 that came out last month, and we got Godzilla Escape the Dead Zone that came out this month. And the last issue we will be waiting for is Starship Godzilla. That won't be coming out until October. Now, I already read both of these comics, so Godzilla issue 1 and Dead Zone, but we'll focus on Godzilla issue 1 for this video, and then the next one we'll talk about Dead Zone. Because these three comics are in a shared universe. And so if you guys already know what's happening, then that's great. But to let you know, I never read a Godzilla comic book until this series popped up on my feed. And so I was interested. And so far, I'm enjoying Godzilla issue 1 and more interested in Dead Zone. So, but we're going to read this article and just really get a summary of all three comics, and then we'll continue to the Godzilla issue 1 after that. So IDW Publishing is coming up with Godzilla comic book line in the beginning of IDW Publishing upcoming Godzilla comic book line is bringing IDW Publishing upcoming Godzilla comic book line is bringing the big monster energy following the free comic book day release of Godzilla the New Heroes on May the 3rd. I might read that and then I'll talk about it, but it depends. The publisher will launch all three new Godzilla comic book shared universe, and it kicks off with Kai-Sei era. The new line of comic will kick off with the first ongoing Godzilla comic book series in the decade. Godzilla issue 1 drops in July, and it's written by Tim Seeley. Okay, let's not do that. So IDW Publishing upcoming Godzilla comic book line. So they started doing this after the release of the Godzilla the New Heroes. And here's Godzilla issue 1. In 1954, the experiment with a mysterious energy source called Kai-Sei awakened Godzilla and other terrifying kaiju. For decades, humanity has endured onslaught of monster attacks, while Japan viewed these unstoppable rampages like natural disasters. The United States G-Force is attempting to fight these seemingly immortal titans. Now they found a boy who wields the power of Godzilla. Will he save the world or bring it about to his doom? We'll talk more once I cover the other two summaries of the comics. So here's Dead Zone's summary. Introducing the first ever human kaiju hybrid in Toho history, Godzilla Escape the Dead Zone will explore the biggest mystery of the new connected universe. What is the truth behind the post-apocalyptic Dead Zone? The search for answers will forever change how fans view this new universe as they experience this thrilling, shocking ride. And I do enjoy it. I like how they keep it separated from the other. Starship Godzilla, first time in Toho history. This trip through the stars will bring the gap between the various alien races. They come to Earth in the past tales, but now time to visit their worlds as a crew of misfits embark on high-risk, reward kaiju-based missions with secrets that can impact the whole universe. So I'm curious how Starship Godzilla is going to fit in this timeline of the stories, because from the next pound they show, you already see like a little city and stuff, and then you see Mechagodzilla. I'm calling it Mechagodzilla for now because that's what it looks like. But I'm curious if this story is going to be in the future or is taking the same place at the same time, you know, like during the whole series of Dead Zone and Godzilla issue 1. Because if this takes place in the future, that gives them more room to do whatever they want. But also, this is in space, so they can just do this in the present day of year 2025 without being like tied in too much to the other two issues, because it's all in space, and I don't think this is really going to affect the other two comics as much until they dive deeper into the whole story. So those are the two summaries of these two comics. Now let's head into Godzilla issue 1. Guys, are you ready for the Godzilla comic book story breakdown? So this story takes place in 2025, but the Commander Rivera is one of the characters we're going to get introduced shortly. But he's doing a background, yeah, he's doing a background check on Godzilla. But really, though, he's giving us a breakdown of the story of how in 1954 the world changed and an unknown weapon test awakened a slumbering beast charged with weird energy, and that it rose out of the ocean of Japan, coastal Japan, chock full of resentment, hate, and kept walking and stumped Tokyo to the ground. All of a sudden, humankind got knocked off the top of the food chain. The creatures coming unleashed age of the kaiju, desperate race among the nations to find a way to send them back to the bottom of the sea. The thing is, Godzilla wasn't going down quietly into the night. It was seemingly unlimited reserve of Kai-Sei power meant the war is going to be a long and hot one. And now this is all the breakdown from Commander Rivera's review. But before we continue, I just love how they show Godzilla as a menace. You see how the military army is literally trying to hold Godzilla back, but absolutely does nothing with his atomic breath. And I love how they give him a lot more spikes, and you see the powers just like kind of like veins on his body just popping out with pure raw energy. So I think that's really cool and well done design. But let's go back to the pro and continue, because we're going to introduce to our new character, and he takes place from Fort Belmont, one of the most fortified locations in North America ever since the Rodan incursion in '97. Yet it rolled over its belly like for the lizard like a golden retriever. Data drones managed to do their job at least. Following the footage comes from and starts with a boarding school, Third Avenue. The place is almost filled with kids who lost their parents to kaiju, some of them from as far away as dead zones. These poor kids can't get a break. Now there are someone unknown to keep an eye. So this is the character Jace, and we'll get into it after we do this prologue. It also says that the Coast Guard's choppers has been deployed and their guns are exactly the precise instruments. But this kid, he doesn't run, and the air burns so hot, cracks like lightning has struck. The asphalt melt into thick black magma. You can look away from this atrocity. I wouldn't blame you, but if you do, you're gonna miss this moment. One of the greatest things these eyes have ever seen in my 60 years living in Godzilla's shadow. In that monster's eyes is almost fear. And this is where the whole team gets shocked about how he survived a direct blast from Godzilla. And I wouldn't say it's fear. I would say more is Godzilla's shock, because Jace could have the powers of Godzilla. But now here we are. We're going to introduce the team. We got Nuki. She's from the Dead Zone Patrol, and then you got Incense. He's a pyrotech and streaming star, which is funny. I like he's a streaming star. And then you got Jet Jagger, Japanese android, can only speak through his 90 theme song. And then you got Dr. Rimu, recent transfer from G-Force Japan. And then the leader of the squad is Rivera, G-Force commander. And now introduce the new recruit of their team is Jace. And I do gotta say though, I love the designs they did for each of these characters. Very simple, but each of them had the same color scheme, and it just makes them stand out in their own way. Especially Jace. I like how he has a coat, and I like how his black suit has an energy lining up through his body and stuff. And it's really cool. And this is where Commander Rivera ends this prologue, is that in 1954 change, and in 2025 it's going to change again. And so this is where we get introduced to G-Mutants. And now I was researching on this, and G-Mutants are new to the this Godzilla universe series, because I was trying to see if there were from any other parts of the comics, but from what I found and stuff, This is totally original to the series, especially these characters they introduce. So Jace, Rivera, the whole G-Force squad, they're all original to the series, besides Jet Jaguar. Because I know Jet Jaguars appear into other Godzilla media. I could possibly miss some of these other characters, but it's okay. I'll let you guys let me know what comic they appear in, and I would like to read it. But yeah, and so this is going to be interesting because we're going to be focusing on this story on them in this Godzilla comic series, because the other two issues will be focusing on two different characters. So Dead Zone, I'll have that out, and you guys will hear my thoughts on Dead Zone. But Starship Godzilla won't be out until October the 1st, so we won't really talk about that much. But I'm really excited to read Starship Godzilla because that'll be more in space with aliens and kaijus and stuff. I'm just curious how that's going to take place in the future, or same time as everything else is taking place. So now we get back to the present of Gulf of Mexico, and we get two fishermen fishing, and then we get the appearance of Anagus, the armadillo kaiju. I call him armadillo kaiju because it's really hard for me to pronounce his name consistently. But before that, we get into it. We get introduced to another character that Jace is going to be with as Marco, and it looks like he's some type of weirdo scientist. But the coolest thing about Jace's powers they display is that how he can cook popcorn from a box with his powers. I think that's the most convenient ability ever. You're hungry, you need to cook something, boom, power. Just like the Human Torch or Pyro, anybody with abilities to manipulate fire or energy can cook food. But this is where I get a little more interested into the story, because after they do a brief little talk and stuff, it's nothing really major, but this is where Marco mentioned that to Command that he established connection with Jace, but he's going to try to find whatever secrets that Jace has, and then try and cut him out with a scalpel if he has to. So what he's saying is he's going to try to dig in deep as much as possible about his powers, about his strength, how they can use it, even collecting DNA from him. So I know I'm like, this is a lot of speculations, but I feel like there's more to this than we're being led on. And so we got into the training room. This is where we'll get to know everyone's quick abilities and strengths. So Jace is getting team up from his team. So we get Jet Jaguar's ability, his strength to increase atomic size and mass. And then we get to Commander Rivera, where he wears a strength exomech suit that enhances strength and speed. And we also get Nuki, who's artillery mech suit. And then we get Instance, where he has a power attack suit. And then that's pretty much a quick shot of their abilities. They really don't go into it because it's just a first issue, so we don't really get to see how well they can handle themselves against the kaiju until we get to Anagas. But I do like how Jace has a little short temper, because he uses powers against his teammate, and then Commander Rivera gets mad at him for it. But I feel like there's more to the story of it, because when they introduce characters who are old in age and mention something in their debrief about living in the shadow of a person or a monster, they tend to be a little jealous of that thing or crave power for themselves to achieve whatever their goal they wanted to achieve, either to save the world even though it's in the wrong way, or become a new ruler of a new world. So I'm keeping my bet that Commander Rivera is going to be the next villain through the story. That's my guess, but I could completely be wrong. He could be a cranky old man. So now back to the breakdown. There's so this is where we get into the Gulf of Mexico, and after hours, 17 minutes, it took them 3 hours to get there. That's pretty fast. But everyone's being deployed besides Rumu, because Kamara doesn't convince that their methods would work, because Japan has different methods than what the United States have. But this is where Rumu also says something. This is very interesting, that she's not convinced that their newest recruit won't cause another dead zone. So in the dead zone comic, it doesn't explain how the dead zone exactly start, but I think that has to be related to what they did to their new recruit. So we'll either find more through dead zone or through this comic, but we'll see what happens. But pretty much it's a quick fight. Everyone's fighting. Incense is streaming, which I really like, how he just streamed the whole fight. And you see him burning the kaiju's mouth from the inside. And then you get Commander Rivera and Jace punching the spikes off. But what I like about is Rumu is, on the ship, she's using her powers to trying to communicate with the kaiju and trying to understand what's going on with him, like what's causing him to act out. And after a retreat, everyone celebrates as like they won their first battle and stuff, which is cool and all. But this is where I really like at the end of the comic. Remu's on the boat with Jace while she's trying to find Anagas. She gets a little upset at Jace because she's following him, but we get from a quick preview why he did it is because his mom left him, never came back to find, because his mom died, either through an accident from a kaiju attack or through Godzilla. It's just him saying that he stood at the door waiting for her to return, but she never did. And so that pretty much explains why he's on the boat and what happens to his parents, and which I like. Quick and simple. And so, but this is where Rumu talks about how she was reading their thoughts of the kaiju, and it's how it's all compressing, overwhelming when they're near. But she said that Anagas was weakened, draining, and is dying. And Jay says, yeah, I feel it too. And he liked it, but he loves it, because it was just, he's more angry towards Godzilla of what he did to him and to his mom. But this where Jace gets dragged into the ocean with giant leeches. Yeah, giant leeches, man. I don't know if I can be a G-Force team, find kaijus like this, getting dragged in the water. And then this is where we get introduced to Lemmet. And he looks really cool. I like the spikes on his back. I like the tail, the smile that looks devious. But this is what he says, that Anagas feels it. No doubt Godzilla does too. All of us connected in a burning Oberos, a circuit of Lemmet. All of us changed by the admiral rage of Earth into the instruments of vengeance. All of us family. So I can't wait for the next issue to see what is this connection between Lemmet, because he is a brand new character to this series. So if you want to jump into this comic, you more welcome can. You don't have to read other comics to understand all these characters and see the difference, the changes they made. But it's a really good, solid start, even though it's like a slow story for me, because I would like to see more of people's the characters' abilities, especially Jace with the power of Godzilla, or that's what I'm assuming. I think his power is more of like, I feel like his might could be lead to like a copy ability or adaptation, but we'll wait and see. But because this G mutants are like pretty much the X-Men in the Godzilla universe, so I want to see how many people they're going to introduce and how these powers are going to evolve everyone, But that's pretty much it. there's not much to break down for me, but if you guys see more hints or something that I miss, just let me know in the comments, and I'll be more welcome to review that comic and really let me know if there is, so I can read it and be more up to date. Because this is my first Godzilla comic book, and I enjoy it, and I hope you guys enjoy it as well. So have a great day and take care. Bye.